بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة وعبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم سادتي يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز معكم فوزا عظيما. قال الله في محكم كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. Sweeten and revive your gatherings with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The second salawat in the honor of Fatima, peace be upon her. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The third, for the love and honor of the infant child of Imam Hussein Abdullah al-Radi', the third with the loudest of your voices. 500 years ago, a blizzard, a brutal blizzard hits the country of Iran, to a point that all the doors are shut, all the businesses are closed, and every single person in the country is seeking shelter from this brutal blizzard, from the coldness, trying to stay warm in their homes, trying to stay cozy in their homes, fearing death of how cold it was during that blizzard, as it would precipitate snow around the country. People were in their homes hiding and seeking refuge from that brutal cold weather. Before the blizzard hit the country, a princess had left her palace, the daughter of the king of Iran, walking with her entourage, walking with her servants, walking with her maids, walking with her guards, going and running an errand, visiting a friend, and the blizzard hits her country. A blizzard so strong that she starts to stumble and she loses her entourage, she loses her maids, she loses her soldiers and guards. She turns around, there is no one there. The people that she was with moments ago, protecting her and walking with her, are no longer there. She is now walking alone, stumbling in the snow, and trying to save herself from freezing to death. So she goes and starts to knock on every door that she could find. She can't really see because it's snowing so hard, it is so cold. She's just trying to make it somewhere so she can survive through this blizzard. She knocks on the first door, no one answers. People are inside their homes, probably in one of the rooms, sitting around a fire, the whole family trying to keep warm and try to make it through the cold night. She goes to another door, a third door, until she stumbles upon a huge building with a large door. She goes and knocks on the door. One time, there is no answer. Two times, there is no answer. By the third time, the door opens, and there is a young man, young handsome man standing at the door. He opens the door. He tells her, "What's going on? Why are you knocking on the door? This is a seminary. This is a hawza. There is no woman here. How can I help you? What can I do? What has made you come this way?" She says, "Well, I was with my friends, I was with my people, and then I got lost in the middle of the blizzard. I lost them, and now, as you can see, it's freezing cold. I need somewhere as a shelter so I can make it through this blizzard, and as soon as the snowfall stops, I will make it my way. But if you don't let me in, I will die. I will freeze to death. And I am sure that the Hawza does not teach you to let a person like me die out there in the cold." So he starts to think, I can't let her die. What do I do? He lets her inside the school and the seminary. All the students are asleep. Everyone is trying to warm himself. All the doors are locked. The only place that he could take her is inside his room next to that fire that he made, so she can seek refuge there until the stop of precipitation and snowfall stops. So he tells her to sit in his bed, and he goes and sits all the way on the other side of the room, facing the wall. He takes a candle with him. He sits facing the wall, his back towards this girl, this princess, and throughout the night she sees him every once in a while placing his hand over the candle, over the fire of the candle. But he never turned around the whole night. Until the morning comes, the snow stops, and now the guards, the king's guards, are looking for the princess, going from house to house, alley to alley, street to street, looking for the princess and the king's daughter, until they reach the seminary, the Hawza. They knock on the door, and the princess is there. They take the princess, and the princess goes to her father, the king, and tells him the whole story. That this is what happened. I lost my way. I went to this building. It was a seminary, and one of the students in the seminary, he let me into his room, but he didn't look at me the whole night. He turned around. He faced the wall during the whole night. And he just sat with a candle the whole night. 2-3 days pass by. The king's guards are at the doors of the seminary. Where's this young man? Call him for us. The king is summoning him. So they take this young man with them to the king's palace, to his courtyard. As soon as he enters the king's courtyard and palace, the king tells him, "Why do you have a band-aid around your hand?" He tells him, "Oh no, nothing. He tells him, "Did you allow my daughter to go into your room? Is this what happened? You saved the life of my daughter? My daughter told me everything, but I still want to know why you have a band-aid, and why you would place your hand over the candle. multiple times during the night when my daughter was in your room? He tells him, because every time my inner self came to me and told me, turn around, look at her nice clothes, turn around, she has nice perfume on, turn around, she is beautiful, she is young, I would remember the fires of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I would place my hand over the fire of the candle. Brothers and sisters, my young brothers, how many of us would react this way if we were alone with a young lady? Remind ourselves of the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a relationship that's not allowed and forbidden in Islam and every religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of us would react this way? And because of that reaction, because of his patience, this young man, this young Sayyid, the king says that my daughter says, I will not marry another man in the whole kingdom. This is the boy that I want. This is the boy that deserves to be the prince and the heir of this kingdom. And the king proposes to this young man that, do you accept to marry my daughter? And this is how this young Sayyid became the groom of the king and was nicknamed Mir Damad, the groom of the king, because he stayed patient one night and he fought with his inner self, and he overcame his inner self and his nafs. How many of us, brothers, can withstand such night or withstand such test in our lives? We are tested with a beautiful girl, with a beautiful woman. We're secluded, there is no one there. And our nafs is telling us to go, do it, be with her. Have fun, enjoy your time, enjoy your youth. How many of us would make the decision of Mir Damad? Also, historians and exegists also speak of the beauty of the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Nabiullah Yusuf, how beautiful Yusuf was. And that women, they could not control themselves when they would see the beauty of Yusuf. They would be overwhelmed. They couldn't control themselves. Even the wife of the king and Aziz of Misr, the ruler of Egypt, the king of Egypt, the most powerful man of Egypt, his wife, Zulaykha, was overwhelmed with the beauty of Yusuf. She couldn't control herself. Every time she would see Yusuf, she would go crazy. She would go insane. Her inner self would tell her to make this young man yours. Try to make him yours. Try to persuade him to be with you. It doesn't matter that you are married. It doesn't matter that he's a young man. It doesn't matter that you're a queen. Make him yours. Look at his beauty. Look how beautiful he is. Look at his eyes. Look at his hair. Look how tall he is. Look how handsome he is. Until one day Zulaykha decided to make her move. Her inner nafs, her inner conscience told her to make her move. This is your time. This is your moment to enjoy your life. The king is out of the castle. You can seclude yourself and be secluded with Nabiullah Yusuf and have all that beauty to yourself. The king is out. Everyone is out of the castle. She calls Yusuf into her room. Yusuf, a young man, 15, 16 years old, that has been raised in the palace of the king since he was a young child, 5 or 6 years old. He thinks that this lady is calling him. She sees him as her son. She's calling him, maybe that she needs some help in the room. She needs something picked up or put down. So he goes into her room, and Zulaykha starts to close all the doors. She starts to close all the doors to seclude herself with Yusuf, because this man's beauty was not of this world. The Quran says that when the ladies saw Yusuf And they would tell Zulaykha that you're crazy. And they heard of the story of Zulaykha and Yusuf. And everyone started gossiping and speaking about the story of Yusuf and Zulaykha. Zulaykha brought all the women of Egypt into her house and then brought Yusuf. She had given them fruits and sharp knives in their hands. When he came into the room, the Quran says all of them started to cut their hands because they were so moved by the beauty of Yusuf. They started cutting their hands. They became unconscious of his beauty. And so did Zulaykha. She closes all the doors and now she starts to take off her clothes. She takes off her shirt, she throws it on one of the idols. Yusuf tells her, why are you throwing the clothes on the idol? She says, well, I am shy of this idol, my God that I worship. Yusuf tells her, and you do not fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You fear this idol, this stone, and you don't fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heavens and the earths, the skies, the Milky Ways, the galaxies. Every single human being, every single creature that walks on this earth and lives on this earth. And he runs away. He runs away to be away from Zulaykha. That he does not fall into the same sin as Zulaykha. Zulaykha still tries her last chance and rips his shirt from behind. As soon as Yusuf opens the door, the king is standing there. What's going on here? Yusuf tells him, this is what happened. The king goes and asks one of his ministers, who should I believe? My wife says, he seduced her. And Yusuf says, she seduced him. The minister says, if she has ripped his shirt from the front, then it was Yusuf who was the sinner. But if his shirt is ripped from behind, then your wife, she's the one that committed the mistake and the sin. Sisters, how many of you would not make the same mistake as Zulaykha if you are alone with a man who is not mahram to you? Who in Islamic law, you are not allowed to be secluded with him. But every single one of us, brothers and sisters, has a beast inside his body, within his soul, his inner conscience. His inner self is a beast, feasting on sin and mistakes of man. There's a beast inside us, and as long as we obey this beast becomes stronger and more vicious and eats everything in its path. Have you seen a person who buys a horse? The horse is young, this horse needs to be tamed, or else you can't ride it. So every day you gotta go sit back on the horse, put a saddle on that horse, whether it likes it or not, whether it knocks you down, whether it starts kicking and moving and acting rowdy, you need to come back, sit back on that horse, and mount that horse and tame that horse. Even an animal as small as a bird, if you get a bird, you put him in a cage and feed him every day, he's not going to be a friendly pet. He's going to bite your finger every time. But if you don't feed this bird for about a day or so, you don't give him water, this little bird's going to come and become much more friendly. You're going to control it. It's going to become your pet. This is with every animal, with every beast, brothers and sisters. We also have a beast within us, that as much as you give it, it wants more, and it becomes more powerful and more powerful. If a lion doesn't eat for a long time, it becomes weak. If a tiger does not eat for a long time, does not feast in a long time, it becomes weak, doesn't it? Even an animal like a zebra could take the king of the jungle out, because the king of the jungle has not ate in a long time. The nafs that lies within us, our self-conscience, our inner self, is also a beast, telling us to commit sins, commit mistakes. This is beautiful, this is sweet, this is enjoyable, and it wants more and more and more. The hadith by Imam al-Sadiq says, إِن صَعُبَتْ عَلَيْكَ نَفْسُكَ فَاصْعِبْ لَهَا تُذِلُّ لَكَ. If your nafs becomes strong, too hard to control, then you also need to use your strength and your power trying to tame your nafs so it could be tamed and under control. Make it suffer. Make your nafs suffer. Don't give it everything that it desires. Your nafs is like a well. As much as you try to dig the water out and take the water out, there's always more water in that well. There was a father who saw his son. He was very infatuated with this world. He took his son to a well and he placed him by the well. He told him, sit by this well. I will go in return. I want you to take as much water as you can with your hands. Try to take as much water as you can with your hands and your feet until I go and come back. The father goes for 10, 12 hours. He comes back. He sees the son. He's tired. He's sitting by the well. And the water level is exactly the same. He told him, son, why didn't you take more water out of this world? He says, well, I tried. But every time I would take water out, the water levels would go back up. As much as you try to have of this world, the water levels still come back up. You can never get enough. Your nafs could never get enough. As long as you tame it and you overpower it, it will overpower you. As long as you don't make it into a slave, it will enslave you. The teachers of akhlaq and scholars of akhlaq and morals share a story. They say there was a young scholar, a pious young man, studying hadith, studying the Quran, trying to be a better Muslim, trying to become a better scholar. One day he met a Sufi scholar. The Sufi scholar, who was a murtav, he had special powers. Have you seen some people in our countries, they put the sword in their stomachs and nothing happens? He puts a sword in his head, nothing happens. We've seen them in our countries. He swallows a whole sword as if nothing happens. So this young man, this young alim, he meets someone like that. He tells him, what have you learned of riyadha and soul practices for the soul to make your nafs and your soul stronger? He says, nothing, I just pray my 5 times a day. I wake up at night, pray Salatul Layl. I don't miss my Fajr prayers. He tells him, this is not enough. If you want superpowers, Super Saiyan powers, you need 40 days of worship and 40 days of riyadha and practice to overcome your soul and to control your soul. So come with me, I will teach you some of these practices. He takes him to his house. He gives him a list of foods that he cannot eat. You can't eat your mother's fasanjoon for the next 40 days. You can't do this. You can't eat that. You can't drink this. You have to say these words for 5,000 times a day for 40 days. He gives him a whole list of things to do for him to control his nafs. So this young man goes home. His uncle is waiting for him. Maybe it was past, the time that he usually goes home. He asked him, son, where were you? Nephew, where were you? Tells him, I went and I had a meeting with Mullah Ali al-Murtav. And he taught me a few things of practice so I can have more strength in my nafs. I could control my nafs. He tells him, well, tell me what Mullah Ali told you. So he sits and he tells his uncle of all the practices that Mullah Ali taught him. He tells him, son, come here, let me teach you something. Something much more effective than what Mullah Ali has taught you. Not about disobeying your nafs about food or, eating rice or meat or chicken or fish. No. These things don't matter. What matters, I will teach you. Every night before you go to sleep, you hold a prayer bead. And when you're sleeping on your back, you start to count the sins that you made this day. You start to count how many sins you made throughout this day. The first day they might be 50, 60, 70. The next day they're going to be 5 sins less. After a week, you'll find them to be 5 sins. After 2 weeks, there will be 2 or 3 sins. And remind yourself how many sins you will carry on daily basis. If we sin once a day, brothers and sisters, for 70 or 80 years, how many days are in those years? Can you count? Going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with 50,000 sins, 500,000 sins, and standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that heavy of a burden. So He tells him, for 40 days, I want you to count every sin that you make. And then by the end of 40 days, come and tell me that you have still sinned towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that you have still made a sin. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam one day enters the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He sees the Muslims, they're surrounding a person. There's a huge crowd of people. They've made a circle, and people are listening and watching this man as if, you know, he's a magician or something. The people are astonished, they're amazed. Imam al-Sadiq comes inside the masjid. He says, what's going on? They tell him, there's a guy here that has the knowledge of everything. Everything in this world. You ask him of, he will give you the answer. You ask him what you're holding in your hand, he will answer. You ask him what you had for lunch today, he has the answer. You ask him what your brother is doing or where he lives, he has the answer for everything. So Imam al-Sadiq walks towards him, and he closes his hands. He tells him, if you have the knowledge for everything as you claim, tell me, what am I holding in my hands? This man starts to look at Imam al-Sadiq. He starts to ponder. He starts to think. He takes a moment of silence. He turns to Imam al-Sadiq and he says, I looked around the whole world. Everything seems to be the same, except in an island very far away, there's a chicken that laid 2 eggs, and one of the eggs is missing. The mother is looking for her eggs. So I think the egg is in your hands. Imam al-Sadiq opens his hands, and the egg is in his hands. Imam al-Sadiq tells him, how did you gain this knowledge? How did you gain this power? He says, by mukhalifatun nafs. By saying no to my nafs. Whatever my soul desires, my nafs desired, I said no to it. My nafs wanted to eat this type of food, I ate something else. My nafs wanted to wear this color clothes, I wear what it did not desire. Everything that my nafs desired, I said exactly the opposite and did exactly the opposite. Of the most of simplest of things. If you want to become strong, brothers and sisters, you need to say no to your nafs. You need to disobey this nafs. Don't obey the nafs of everything that it desires and everything it asks for. Our nafs is just like a spoiled child. A spoiled child, as much as you give it, you will just spoil him much, much more. And he will request and want much more. You won't get enough. You give a child one thing, he wants 2 things. You give him 1 lollipop, he wants 2 lollipops. He wants 2 Snickers bars. And he just keeps on asking more and more and more. The more you spoil him. That's why he's called a spoiled child. Our nafs is nothing different than a spoiled child. We are spoiling ourselves. We are spoiling our nafs. If we want to become strong like those and the stories mentioned and those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Holy Quran, We need to not obey our nafs, and we have to have control over our nafs. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi afdal salatu wassalam says, مثل الدنيا كمثل ماء البحر كلما شرب منه العطشان ازداد عطشا حتى يموت. This world and the desires that your nafs, your inner self has, is like a person who drinks water from the sea, salt water. He's thirsty, he runs to the ocean, to the sea, he drinks one cup, he becomes thirstier. He drinks another cup, he becomes more thirsty, and he keeps drinking and drinking of that salt water until he passes away and he dies. This dunya is no different. As much as you give to yourself, to your inner self and your nafs, you become more thirsty and more thirsty of the desires and seductions of this world and the temptations of this world. So what do we do? What do we do, brothers and sisters? How do we survive against our nafs? How do we control this nafs? One, by obedience and taming the beast within us. This is not a one-time struggle or a one-time thing or once a month thing. This is every day. You need to ride the horse every day until you tame it. You can't come to a horse one day and then leave it for a month and then come back, try to ride it again, then go for 6 months and then try to come and ride it again to tame it. No, you need to be there every day continuously until the horse and that beast says, okay, I give up. He's the owner, he's the boss, and I will do whatever he says. I will move towards his movements and I will obey him. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi sent a small battalion to defend the city of Medina. We have all heard this hadith, but we need to learn from such hadith, such simple hadiths that we hear from the time that we are children. We hear them so many times, but we don't sit and analyze the hadiths and the words and the pearls of Ahlul Bayt. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, he sends a small battalion to defend the city of Medina. They go, they fight, they push the enemies, they return. They return with casualties. There is a person, his hand is bleeding. The guy lost his finger. One of them lost his lives. When they return, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi welcomes them and he tells them, welcome to a group of people who have just returned from the minor jihad and struggle. They turn to him, Ya Rasulullah, we were just standing in the battleground. There are spears, arrows, swords, shields, people dying, people being wounded, arms being lost, legs being lost. We lost our comrades, our peers, our brothers. Kids became orphans. You call this the minor jihad? We were standing before our fear, before death. What is the greatest jihad, Ya Rasulullah? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi says, your nafs, your jihad and struggle and war against your nafs is the greatest jihad. So let's examine this hadith. What can we understand from this hadith? Right now, if you were a general of a country and a war was being waged against you. There was an enemy standing at your gates and the borders of your country, and they had means to attack. What is the first thing that you do? The first thing that you do is prepare a tactic plan. Prepare tactics, a strategy for attack and defense. How do I sit and think of a strategy to protect my people, the people of my nation, and how do I place my attacks to push them away from enemy lines, or to push them away from my country, away from my walls, away from my borders? The first thing to do against your nafs and this inner enemy is to sit and write up a plan, to sit and think of the wonders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sit, meditate, and think and ponder of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why the existence of man? Do we just exist here to wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, go to the bathroom? Dhuhr time comes, we have lunch, go to the bathroom. Dinner time comes, we eat, we go to the bathroom. No different than a cow. Your life just consists of eating and using the restroom. What am I living here for? Am I just here to consume wealth and then leave this dunya? Am I here just to have more kids and leave this dunya? What are we here for, brothers and sisters? Everything that our nafs wants and desires, we give it. We are no different than cattle. Every time a sheep wants to eat, it will go and eat. Every time it wants to consume, it will consume. Every time it wants to breed, it will go and breed. Not thinking of anything. That's all it's valued. That's why it's a sheep. Are we the same? Do we sit and think and meditate of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants of us as Muslims and the Shia followers of Imam Hussein alayhi afdal salatu wassalam? In this world, in this dunya, in this society, in this country, do we sit and write up a plan? This is what I will do. This is what I will do to aid my religion, to aid the words of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. This is my business plan. This is my strategy. This is how I will fight my nafs. My nafs tells me to go enjoy life. I will tell my nafs that every single moment of my life I will serve it and show servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When no one wants to go to the protest, I will be the first one to protest. When no one wants to come and give a lecture and go to the hawza and struggle in the hawza, I will go to the hawza and I will struggle. You have to make a plan for your akhirah. You have to make a plan for this dunya. What will I present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment? Imam al-Rida alayhi afdal salatu wassalam says, ليس العبادة كثرة الصلاة والصيام إنما العبادة تفكر في أمر الله. Again and again we see similar hadiths where the Imams say that religion and the core of religion and worship is not the increase of salah and siyam, of salah, prayers and fasting. Those who stood in front of Imam Hussein alayhi salam also prayed and fasted, but they stood there because their nafs overtook them. Their nafs, their inner self was stronger than them, telling them that Yazid will give you wealth. Yazid will give you the city of Ray. Yazid will give you this city. He will give you this position. He will give you that position. He will give you this many golden dinars. They prayed, they fasted, they read the Quran. They knew who Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi was. They know who Imam Hussein was. Imam Hussein stands before them. He tells them, is there someone here who does not know me? Everyone says, La wallah, we all know you. You are the grandson of Rasulullah. So why are you here? Because of their nafs. Because of their nafs. Their nafs, their inner self defeated them, made them into a slave. The beast within them ate everything apart. It destroyed them. But the greatest of worship is thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the values of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us as Muslims in this world. And then, if you want to enter a battle, you have to look at your own flaws and your own weaknesses. Don't only look at the flaws of others. There are some people, they only see the flaws of others. Did you see her, what she was wearing? La ilaha illallah. Did you see what this guy said? La ilaha illallah. Did you see that guy? He didn't pay his khums, his zakat. This is the biggest problem. We see other people's flaws. We don't see ourselves. We don't see the flaws of ourselves. This is when our nafs, our inner self destroys us. When we see the flaws of others and we don't see our own flaws. But if you want to enter a battle, the first thing to do is to see your own flaws. Are my soldiers strong enough? Is my Navy strong enough? Is my Air Force strong enough? Do we have the right tactics? Do we not have the right tactics? Do we have enough food? Do we not have enough food? Do we have enough supplies? Do we have enough ammunition? You have to see your own flaws and your own weaknesses before anything. Don't look at others. First, perfect yourself. First, perfect yourself. First, be the one that is perfected himself, and then look at the others and try to go and make amr bil ma'roof and try to teach them. Because when you want to teach someone and you yourself have flaws, he will also look at your flaws. He will say, you're not complete. You're not a perfect human being. So why come and tell me? Why come and tell me? So me, Mothafar Al Qazwini, I have to look at my flaws first. Every single one of us, we have to look at our flaws first. You enter a boxing ring. Before you enter, you have to know, is my right jab weak or my left jab? If my left jab is weak, I need to work day and night to place more power in my left jab, my left uppercut. If I'm weak on the ground as a wrestler, this is where I need to emphasize and work hard upon, so I am not defeated in the ring. Isn't this correct? First, we have to see our own flaws, where we are weak. We have to strengthen those flaws, and that's how we overcome our nafs and this beast, and we tame this beast. And last, determination. We have to be determined to stop our life of wrongdoing and start a life that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only. We don't want to please anyone else. We don't care if this guy is happy with us, that guy is happy with us, our neighbors, our friends, our sisters, our cousins. No. The only thing that we care about is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have determination. Just like a person who is determined to go to the gym for 5 years and have that nice body, to go to school and have that nice degree, to work hard and have that nice house, that nice car. He's determined. We need to be determined to only please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and live a life that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. Start a new chapter in life. This chapter is pleasing and showing pleasure and servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last story, and inshallah we will conclude, the story of Mullah Mahdi al-Naraqi, the author of the book of Kitab Kamil al-Sa'adat, which is taught to every single Hawza student till today, brothers and sisters. A book of akhlaq, a book of merits, teaching how you to deal with your teacher, with your parents, with your friends, with your neighbors. It brings the hadiths of Ahlul Bayt, teaching every single student how to be a label and a representative of Islam. So he writes this book. This book is spread within the Hawza. All the scholars read this book. They all fall in love with the teachings of this book. He goes to the city of Najaf. He visits the city of Najaf at the time where the Marji'iyya was in the hands of Ayatollah as-Sayyid Muhammad Mahdi Bahr al-Ulum. And of course, within the akhlaq and the values and manners of Ahlul Bayt, when a person comes to your city, Ahlul Bayt would go and visit them. They would go visit them, show them respect. Welcome to our city. They would take them food. They would show them respect. They would show them honor. So all the scholars in the city of Najaf go and visit Mullah Mahdi al-Naraqi, except Sayyid Muhammad Mahdi. So Mullah Mahdi al-Naraqi says to himself, I will go visit Sayyid. He's the grand Ayatollah. He's the marji of our time. He's the largest scholar. He's the greatest scholar. I would go visit him. He goes and visits him. Sayyid sits there, not showing him too much, attention. He doesn't stand up for him. He doesn't get up and hug him or plead to him. Sheikh Mahdi leaves the house. He goes, he comes back again the second time, the third time. By the third time, Sayyid Muhammad Mahdi Bahr al-Ulum stands up for him, goes, kisses his forehead. He sees that this is a different person or a different way of interaction. He tells him, Sayyid, why the first two times when I came to you, you didn't show me this respect, this affection? He tells him, I wanted to see if you are truly living by the teachings of your book. And I saw that you truly live by the teachings of the book that you authored. And you have taught the Hawza students. And because of that, I will stand up and kiss your forehead. I will stand up for and praise you, because I honestly saw a man that overpowered his self, inner self, and his nafs, and tamed his beast. This is why today you earned all of my respect, all of my homage. This is how we need to live our lives, brothers and sisters. This is how we need to control our nafs. Whether you are in New Zealand or in Karbala, whether you are in America or the city of Najaf, whether you are in the United Kingdom or living by the Kaaba and the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it doesn't matter. Our nafs will always seduce us. This beast within us will always try to destroy us. This is the lesson of today. These are the lessons of Ahlul Bayt. These are the lessons of the Mimbar of Imam Hussein. These are the lessons of the Mimbar of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein is not just tears, brothers and sisters. Imam Hussein is a lesson, and then we shed a tear for his tragedy. We don't just sit here for commemoration, just to cry and to leave as the same people as that we entered into the Majlis or the Husayniyah. No, we need to leave as better individuals, better soldiers, more effective soldiers for Allah, for Imam Hussein, and for the Imam of our time. Those who are self-disciplined and have control. The most effective of soldiers is the one who has most self-control and most discipline. So one, Imam Hussein is ibrah, a lesson, then he is a abrah, then he is a tear. This is why we gather here today. First, to learn the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, and then reminisce and remember what happened to Imam Hussein alayhi afdalus salatu was salam on the 10th of Muharrum. When Imam Hussein, all his family members had been murdered. His sons, his nephews, his companions. Abul Fadl al-Abbas has already fallen. It's just him, Zayn al-Abidin, who cannot even move from his bed because of his illness, and an infant, a 6-month-old infant. This child was near death. His mother had not breastfed him since the 7th of Muharram. That's when they shut off all the water sources upon the household of Rasulullah. 3 days, the infant does not drink milk or any water. Can you imagine that for your children, for your infants, brothers and sisters? Mothers sitting in this gathering, can you imagine that you do not feed your infant for 3 days? What would happen to this 6-month-old child? His mother comes to him, to Imam Hussein, tells him, Ya Aba Abdullah, before you go, before anything happens, can you ask these people to give a cup of water, a drink of water, a sip of water to Ali al-Asghar? He has not done anything wrong. He's just an infant. Imam Hussein holds his child in his hands, under his abba. He walks towards the enemies. He tells them, oh, the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, if I have done something wrong and you don't wish to give me water, what is the sin of this child? And he takes his son, his infant, before the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. If I have done something to harm you, to unplease you, But what is the sin and the mistake of this infant? He is only 6 months old. The army of Umar ibn Sa'd starts to fall. Some of them are saying, how could you, O Umar ibn Sa'd? He is a 6-month-old child. Have some heart. Have some decency, this man. You have killed all his brothers, all his nephews, all his companions. What has this child done? The whole army starts to fall. Umar ibn Sa'd calls Harmala. He tells him, oh Harmala, cut the fuss of the army of Hussein. Harmala takes a 3-headed arrow and he shoots it towards the son and the infant of Imam Hussein. The arrow pierces from one side of the neck to the other side. The arrow pierces, the mouth of Ali al-Asghar opens. Historians say that he took his hands, he started to flap them like a little bird. Imam Hussein takes the blood of his infant child. He throws it to the sky. He tells Allah, oh Allah, if this is what you wish to see, then take. Take my son, take everything. Imam Hussein, he comes back with his infant child. He's wiping off his tears from his face. He's hiding his child under his abba, under his cloak. His mother runs to him. She tells him, Ya Aba Abdullah, did they give him any water? Sukaina comes, oh father, did they give my little brother some water? If there is some water left, can I have some water? Imam Hussein takes the infant out of his cloak. He tells them they did not give him water, but they gave him an arrow to the neck. Historians say that Imam Hussein went to the back of the tent. He brought his sword and he dug a very small grave. He dug a small grave and he dug a grave for his infant child and he buried his little Ali al-Asghar. Now it is time for wada', for farewells with the family. It is time to say goodbye to Zainab. It is time to say goodbye to Ruqayyah. It is time to say goodbye to Kulthum. Imam Hussein stands in the tent with his daughters, with his sisters. They're all surrounding him. Zainab comes to him and tells him, Ya Aba Abdullah, I see that you have your mind towards Shahada. Imam Hussein tells her, yes, my sister, it is my time of farewell as well. Imam Hussein mounts his horse. They are all giving him his farewells. Imam Hussein kisses all his daughters, all his children. He looks around, one of the kids is not there. He tells them, where is my daughter, Sukaina? They tell him, Sukaina does not want to come and say goodbye to you, Ya Aba Abdullah. She's sitting in the tent. She says, I don't want my father to leave. Imam Hussein unmounts his horse. For one last time, he goes and he kisses his daughter. He tells her, oh Sukaina, you will be the first to join me from the women and the children. Imam Hussein gets back on the horse. He starts to march towards the enemies, and he hears a faint voice, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya ibn Ummi, Ya Hussein. Imam Hussein turns around. He sees that Zainab has came out of the tents. She has come in the middle of the field. Ya Aba Abdullah, she calls upon him. Imam Hussein rushes back to the tent. He tells her, Ya Zainab, this is not a place where you should be. She tells him, Ya Aba Abdullah, there's an amana. There's an amana that I have to convey to you, a message that I have to convey to you. Oh Zainab, oh my sister, from whom? What is it? She tells him, when our mother was on her deathbed, when her ribs were broken, when she was taking her last breaths, my mother told me to remove your armor and to kiss you from your chest. Zainab removes the armor of Imam Hussein. She kisses his chest, she kisses his neck, and she turns towards Medina. She tells her mother, oh my mother, I have asked for your wish. Imam Hussein gets back on the horse. He starts to fight courageously. Historians say that the army of Umar ibn Sa'd was saying that we have not seen a braver man fight like Hussein. He had lost all his family members, all his sons, all his companions, but he fought like the lion of Allah, just like Ali ibn Abi Talib and the battle of Hunayn and the battle of Uhud. He reminded them of Ali ibn Abi Talib until one of the enemies hit Imam Hussein with a stone on his forehead. Imam Hussein's forehead was broken. The blood started to gush down his eyes. Imam Hussein took his shirt. He started to remove the blood. At this moment, Harmala took an arrow and shot it towards the heart of Imam Hussein. The heart pierced right through the heart of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein, historians say, he bowed down and he pulled the arrow from his back. He fell to the ground. They surrounded him from every direction. Those with spears, those with arrows, those throwing stones at him. Imam Hussein fell. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Zayn al-Abidin calls upon his aunt. Oh, my aunt Zainab, I see the stars colliding. I see the moons colliding. Rush to my father. She rushes. She gets to the hill and she sees Shimr sitting on the chest of Imam Hussein. She calls upon him, oh Shimr, leave my brother alone.